In a town in Oyomesi, the sun rose every morning over the village, and with it, the sound of a man already at work. He was a farmer, strong, patient, and tireless. While others rested, he tilled the soil. While others slept, his hands were still buried in the earth. Season after season, he planted with hope and watered with sweat. Yet his farm never answered him. The crops stayed thin. The leaves dried too quickly. The soil cracked as if it rejected his effort. While other farmers celebrated harvests, his land stood quiet, empty, unforgiving. Villagers whispered, "Maybe the land doesn't like him. Maybe he's cursed. Hard work doesn't always mean success." He heard it all, but he said nothing. Each evening, he returned home with aching bones and a heavier heart. Still, every dawn, he tried again, believing that effort must count for something. One evening, after another failed day, he dropped his tools and sank to the ground at the edge of his farm. Dust clung to his skin. His hands trembled. His eyes burned, not from the sun, but from silent tears. He stared at the land that had taken everything from him and given nothing back. "Have I not worked hard enough?" he whispered to the soil. The wind offered no answer. As he sat there, broken and defeated, a narrow road beside the farm lay quiet, unnoticed, waiting. And somewhere down that road, fate was already on its way. The narrow road beside the farm was quiet, used only by villagers passing through and the wind brushing against dry grass. That evening, the farmer sat on the bare ground at the edge of his land, his eyes fixed on the crops that had once again failed him. His tools lay beside him. His shoulders were heavy with defeat. Then he heard footsteps, slow, uneven, strained. He looked up. An old woman was walking along the narrow road. Her back was bent with age, and a long white cloak covered her fragile body. Balanced on her head was a heavy load, far too much for someone like her. Each step looked painful. The farmer watched for a moment, his heart tightening. He had little to his name, no harvest, no wealth, but he could not ignore her struggle. Standing up. "Please, let me help you." The old woman stopped and turned to look at him. Her eyes were calm, deeper than he expected. She slowly lowered the load from her head, and the farmer lifted it onto his own. It was heavier than it looked, but he said nothing. Without a word, he followed her. They walked together down the narrow road, through tall grasses and fading sunlight. His arms burned, but his steps stayed firm. For the first time in a long while, his mind wasn't on his failure, only on helping someone else. At last, they arrived at a small hut hidden among trees. Old, quiet, almost forgotten. The woman turned to him and smiled. "Thank you, my son," she said gently. "Come inside." The farmer hesitated, then stepped forward. He did not know it yet, but that simple act of kindness had just opened a door that would change his life forever. Because kindness is never wasted, but its reward may not come how you expect. Inside the hut, the air was calm and heavy with silence. The old woman motioned for the farmer-old to sit, and they settled on her old rusty bed. For a moment, she studied him quietly. "My son," she finally said, "you have helped me when you did not have to. I have a present for you." She slowly raised her hand and pointed toward the wall. Leaning there were two shining cutlasses, glowing softly in the dim light. "One is short, she explained. "This one can be used once every week. It will give you steady harvest, enough to live well." Then she gestured to the other. "The long cutlass gives great abundance, with just one use, enough to last an entire month." Her voice hardened. "But it must be used only once in a month. Use it more than that, and the blessing will turn into a curse." She looked at him carefully. "Now, pick the one you truly want." After a brief pause, the farmer reached out and chose the long cutlass. The old woman nodded slowly. "I have warned you."
Next morning, the farmer stood on his land before sunrise. The long cutlass felt heavy in his hands, warm, almost alive. He remembered the old woman's warning clearly: once in a month, no more. With a deep breath, he swung the cutlass into the dry soil. The ground trembled. By evening, something had changed. The soil darkened. Fresh green shoots pushed through the earth. By the second day, leaves were fuller. By the third, crops stood tall and healthy, stronger than anything the farmer had ever seen. Within weeks, his farm became the talk of the village. People traveled from nearby towns to buy his produce. His baskets emptied fast, his barns filled quicker. Money replaced hunger. Respect replaced mockery. Farmers who once laughed now greeted him with bowed heads. They asked questions. They called him blessed. With success came joy, and with joy came love. The farmer married the woman he loved, and their home was filled with laughter, music, and hope. For the first time in his life, he felt complete. Standing beside his blooming land with his wife, he smiled to himself. Obedience had turned his life around. But somewhere, quietly, greed was learning his name. The change didn't happen overnight. It crept in quietly. One evening, the farmer sat beside his wife, the room glowing softly from a lantern. His heart was full, his chest heavy with pride. He told her everything: the old woman, the shining cutlass, the rule, the warning. Instead of fear, she laughed. "Once a month," she scoffed, shaking her head. "Does that sound like wisdom or foolishness? What kind of power limits itself like that?" He hesitated. The old woman's voice echoed faintly in his mind. But his wife leaned closer, her tone sweet and persuasive. "If it brought us this much using it once," she whispered, "imagine what it could do if you used it more. We could be richer than the chief, richer than anyone." The seed of greed was planted. The first time he broke the rule, nothing happened. The farm still flourished. Crops stood tall. The harvest was plenty. Relief washed over him. The second time, the air felt heavier. The soil looked darker. The crops still grew, but something felt off. Then the third time, everything changed. Leaves yellowed overnight. Fruits rotted from the inside. Vegetables that looked perfect on the outside turned black and foul in the homes of those who bought them. Angry villagers returned, dropping baskets at his feet. "You sold us lies. Our food spoiled in hours. Give us our money back." His wealth drained as fast as it had come. Respect turned into whispers. Whispers turned into shame. That night, the farmer sat in silence, the cutlass resting against the wall. His wife avoided his eyes, then finally spoke. "Let's go back to how the old woman said to use it," she whispered.
Together.
Maybe things will return to normal." Greed had spoken softly, and he had listened.
The next month came quietly. The farmer waited. He followed the old woman's words again, using the cutlass only once, just as he had been told from the beginning. He prayed. He hoped. But nothing changed. The land stayed dry. The crops refused to rise. The farm that once bloomed now looked tired, broken beyond repair. Days passed, then weeks. Poverty returned, heavier than before. The little money he had left vanished. The villagers stopped coming. His name meant nothing again. His wife grew quiet, distant. One morning, she packed her things and left without a fight, without a word. The greed that once fueled her dreams had no patience for ruin. That evening, the farmer sat alone by his farm. The sun was setting. His face was buried in his hands. Tears soaked into the soil beneath him. Then he felt a presence. He lifted his head slowly. The old woman was standing beside him. Her white cloak moved gently in the evening wind. Her face was calm, unreadable. The cutlass lay on the ground between them, dull and lifeless. "My son," she said softly, "I warned you." Her voice was neither angry nor kind. It was final. "I told you the blessing had rules. Power obeys discipline. Greed breaks what patience builds." The farmer's lips trembled, but no words came out. As he blinked, the wind swept across the farm. In an instant, the old woman vanished, disappearing into thin air. And so did the cutlass. The farmer was left alone, staring at the empty ground where both had stood. Nothing remained. No magic, no shortcut, no second chance. Only the quiet farm, and the lesson burned into his soul. Some lessons come only once. When ignored, they never return. Thank you for your time. Everyone kindly follow for more interesting stories.